Well, welcome Derbyites, welcome award watchers to our post-Oscars coverage for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was nearly everything, close to everywhere, dragged out over 4 hours. So sort of fitting. And I've got a real surprise treat for everyone. I have one of the stars of Everything Everywhere All at Once, hot off their big Oscar win. It's The Rock. The Rock from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I know you're all going, hey, that looks like very different to The Rock, but it's Hollywood. It's had a bit of work done.
I was really hoping you would stick out your hand and have like sausage fingers.
Yeah, the logistics of that are a bit tricky. So, Rock, what's the big, how do you feel hot off the Oscar win? We probably should have chilled out for the subtitles. But anyway, I think our panel of awards experts and pundits will have more to say than The Rock from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, joined by Joyce Eng, Christopher Rosen, and Sebastian Ochoa.
Ochoa.
John, thank you so much. And we're going to break it down. Well, Sebastian, I'll let you go first. What is your key takeaway from tonight's Oscars?
I think my biggest takeaway was just the films that ended up winning nothing. Banshees got nothing. I was hoping maybe Kerry Condon would pick something up. And Elvis, I think, was the biggest surprise to me because I felt like I was underestimating it. I think I only predicted it for maybe 2 or 3 categories. But a lot of people were saying no, like costume design, production design, and it really wasn't getting anything. So that was probably the biggest shock to me.
Joyce?
Chime in next because he was the biggest Elvis stan. He once had it predicted to win 6 Oscars.
I didn't even particularly enjoy the movie, but I did have it winning 6 at one point. I knocked it down to 4, and it won none. So obviously, I did not do great in my picks. I had actor and makeup because I thought Awesome would win after BAFTA, and I thought it would win makeup as well. And no, it didn't. And then I had it winning cinematography and costume design. I was pretty surprised at how poorly Elvis did. I honestly thought it would do a lot better. So that was a big shock for me. But everything else above the line, not as much of a shock. Everything Everywhere, I had it winning all of those, except for Jamie Lee Curtis, because like Sebastian said, I also thought maybe Kerry Condon would win for Banshees. But Banshees and Elvis seemed like really strong movies throughout the whole season. And for them to go home with nothing is honestly shocking, especially when they could have easily won at least one award. But there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sort of glad that Banshees didn't take out anything. Apologies to Rob because I was going to cut off a finger for every Oscar Banshees Inisherin won this year, and fortunately, look at this. I've got them all left. So.
I mean, once Jamie Lee Curtis won supporting actress, Banshees was gonna get shut out. It's like it was not winning screenplay, so that was its only hope, supporting actress. So.
Yeah. I was foolish. I tipped it for screenplay just because I thought maybe because they know they're giving the directors the directing prize that and Banshees was a bit more of a written heavy film, but I was way off on that. That was my limb that I fell off this year. I think with the acting winners, like what's really cool about our 4 acting winners, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Michelle Yeoh for Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere it's all the Everything Everywhere All at Once people, and Ki Hu Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once too. Is they are all people who have been working for so long with such different career trajectories, all winning on the same night is so cool to see. Like these 4, like you couldn't get more like different Hollywood careers that have all just converged on the one night. So I think that was a really cool sort of.
Well, they basically just copied SAG, so they went 4 for 4 with SAG. Yeah. So they sheeped the narrative just like SAG does. BAFTA went for 8 above the line.
Wow. I thought that the strangest thing about the the SAG, I don't know where I got A24 from, the SAG sweep was just the fact that, like, I think a lot of us are accustomed to looking at BAFTA to like predict those, like, last minute acting wins. But since BAFTA came before SAG this year, I think that played a much bigger role than I had expected. I was still going for Kerry Condon because of BAFTA. But since SAG was kind of the more recent award show, it ended up dominating the narrative, I think.
Well, an interesting pre-Screen Actors Guild Awards, 3 of the winners tonight were not favorites in our Oscar odds at Gold Derby. So, like, if you'd said this a month ago that these would be the 4 winners, 3 of them would have been, Austin Butler's lost, Cate Blanchett's lost. So, yeah. Was it? Do people have a favorite speech of the actor winners?
The supporting speeches were good. Like Brendan and Michelle's were okay. I just love that they kept cutting off speeches, especially when women were about to speak. But they didn't do it for the men, really. Yeah. But of course, they'll let all the acting winners speak as long as they want to.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is, of all the acting winners, Ke Huy Quan was the most confident. There was our biggest lock of the night in the acting awards, yet he had almost the most emotionally charged speech of all of them. It was incredible. So for me, that was my favorite of the 4. I think it was great.
Totally. Although I think no speech beats the Natu Natu speech. I think that was probably for me the highlight of the whole ceremony. And also I just love that movie, so I was really glad that ended up picking best song.
Yeah, one ended up winning more Oscars than
Elvis.
The
5
Banshees of
Best Picture
Inisherin.
nominees, won nothing.
Yeah. 5 Best Picture nominees went nothing, which is quite unusual because we've had a few years where, like, most of them have picked up things. I remember the year when, it was pretty much Lady Bird and The Post were the only 2 nominees that didn't take home an Oscar. So, yeah. Chris, any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the 2 supporting speeches were both great. I kind of thought, I don't know. I mean, Brendan's speech, he seemed so overwhelmed. It was a nice moment, but I think it just felt like he was so overwhelmed by winning. And then Michelle's, I think her earlier speeches were maybe a little stronger. I thought her one at the SAG Awards was pretty great. And also by the end of the show, I don't know. I thought the show itself was like really strong. I thought it was like a real just throwback old regular Oscars. Jimmy Kimmel doing like Billy Crystal type material without the songs and like kind of moving things along. And I thought the presentation of all the categories was really fun. But then by the end, it still felt so rushed to just burn through the last 3 awards. And I was like, how do they figure out a way to, like, they seemingly solved a lot of, I think, the problems that certainly last year's show, which was just awful. And then the year before, I don't think was very good either. Obviously, because of like the COVID stuff and like having it in the train station, not exactly what you want, but yeah, I don't know. By the end of the show, I was just like, they're just banging through this stuff to get it out. And I was like, you already spent 3.5 hours. Why don't we just spend like a little extra time to do it? But, I don't know. I thought those early speeches were pretty tough to top.
Yeah. What do you think of the show, Sebastian?
I thought it was fine. Yeah, as Chris said, they did kind of, it was probably the most like uneventful show I can sort of remember, because I think every Oscars there's always just this one glaring issue with it, and I felt like it solved a lot of the problems, but it lacked a bit of heart. It missed like big highlight moments for me, because I don't think there were any kind of moments that I would tell everybody you have to go online and check out the highlight, this crazy thing happened. So I guess in some ways that's good because it's uncontroversial, but on the other hand, like, I think everyone kind of liked it when Will Smith did his thing, because it just had people had stuff to say about it, and there was not much to say about this show, really.
Yeah. Joyce, do you have anything to say about this show?
It was fine. It was better than last year's. I don't know. I don't really judge the pandemic version because it was, at a train station. And then they put Best Actor last. So, you know, it worked out for them this time, having Halle Berry do Best Actress, and they kind of offset it by pairing her with Jessica Chastain. But we could all see that coming once Jamie Lee Curtis, again, when she won, it's like Michelle's gonna win. So yeah, I think like this ceremony just kind of lacked suspense because you just knew everything everywhere was going to dominate, and it was just always a question of how many Oscars it was going to win, and the answer was 7. Including 3 acting categories. It's the first one to win 3 acting categories and Best Picture, because the first 2 did not do that. So yeah, it didn't. There wasn't a lot of suspense, and then we had like, you know, All Quiet pulling some tech upsets in the middle there. So that was when it was like, oh, it's not looking good for Elvis, but you know, no one really cares about that. Yeah, like there wasn't like any really big moment, and even like I enjoyed all of the performances except for This Is a Life. I don't know why the direction was to do close-ups on everyone for all of them. It was weird. Yeah, so I think it was like a good or like a decent show for like Oscar files. But I haven't talked to like my regular friends yet to see if they even watched the show and what they liked from it. So
I'd be curious to see what regular people thought.
Yeah.
I thought this song, I mean, I liked like having all the songs being performed, and even with This Is a Life, which is, you know, not it, let's say, right? I mean, God bless Stephanie Hsu and David Byrne, but not what you want, maybe. But I thought the way the presentation of those, all the songs, was amazing. I thought the Lady Gaga performance ruled. That was like definitely my favorite part of the whole show. Such a great performance. She was so good. And again, I think if they reset it so you vote for what wins during the show, it would have been a close race between that and RRR, which is also awesome live. I thought they did such a great job with that. And even the Rihanna performance I thought was great. And I know her Super Bowl performance was like high on spectacle, but maybe not like, she didn't seem incredibly interested in it sometimes, but I thought this she really kind of crushed. So I thought all of that worked really well. And again, the show itself I thought was perfectly fine. I don't know. I think like Joyce is right, because so much of the stuff, especially at the end, there was anticlimactic. It kind of made it just feel a little dull at times, but I don't know. I thought it was still
yeah, because at least even with like Parasite, you know, Bong Joon-ho was an upset, and then, you know, like it was still kind of tight, I guess. Like I think like in 1917 most people were still predicted to win Best Picture, so that was still exciting. Even that year, you know, we had Acting Sweepers, which were such a snooze. So yeah, and then I don't know, I don't like what last year.
But you remember Will Smith did something last year.
I know, but I'm like, besides that, it was just like nothing else.
Well, they also cut out 8 of the categories and then somehow made the show longer than the year before. That was another great thing they did.
Yeah, like I did appreciate, like they did really make an effort this year to, you know, reincorporate all the crafts and to teach people what they all are. So a lot of presenter banter in the beginning, explaining what each craft is.
I like that. I love seeing
like
Michael B. Jordan talk about
the little reels that they play before each category too.
Yeah, I love the Michael B. Jordan, Jonathan Majors part. I was in on that. Get Creed 3 Oscar buzz going now. Let's do it. You know, I was loving that. I thought Cocaine Bear and Elizabeth Banks was fine. I thought that was pretty funny, actually. I was shocked.
Okay, I'm assuming she just partied too hard last night and lost her voice.
Yeah, probably. I also was like surprised they didn't show who was in the bear suit. I mean,
like my first thought was like Matt Damon.
Obviously, it seemed like it was Matt Damon. Like, how did they not have it be Matt Damon? But I don't know. Maybe that was like, maybe that'll be in like the after show or something. Well, I mean, I don't even know what they're doing. Like, they have to tell us who was in the suit. I thought that was pretty good, though. I was surprised Jimmy Kimmel did a audience bit where he seemingly did not have the audience in his pocket to do it after Hasan Minhaj did that at the Spirit Awards and also bombed doing the same kind of thing. I was like, that's got to go away. No one wants to participate in those bits when they're in the crowd. So
well, he also just picked the wrong person.
He picked multiple. He picked Malala and then Colin Farrell, who just was like, no.
If only Glenn Close was there.
Played with it a little bit.
A little, very little.
And then like
bit.
Jessica was too far in the aisle. And you had to take off her mask.
I think some of the things with the show, like I think putting the supporting actor and like putting the 2 acting awards so close on the back of each other, for both of them wasn't great. But I loved like just the old schoolness of the sort of like having Jimmy Kimmel come out. He did a solid monologue. There was some funny jokes. Like I have missed the sort of host format that we've had the past 3 or 4 years. Even when it's a disaster, I think it's sort of fun to sort of like talk about what didn't work with it. And yeah, I really liked having a host, a single host.
Yeah, I did really like that they presented every single category. You know, they didn't, like not televise them. I thought it was really refreshing that they actually spoke about like the shorts and things like that. It was like you said, it's pretty old school, but I appreciated that.
Yeah, no, it was good. Were there any, like, what was the biggest shock for people with the awards tonight? Joyce, what was the biggest shock for you? Like, as you said, a bit anticlimactic. A lot of the sort of front runners did win, but was there any category that sort of?
I would just say Elvis getting shut out in general. Like, I would have said it would have won at least one category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter what it was, but it didn't win anything. So, like, nothing else really was that surprising. Like, none of the Everything Everywhere wins. None of like All Quiet wins really. I thought it was funny that it won production design when it couldn't even win that at BAFTA.
Yeah, I thought that was the biggest shock of the night for sure. It was
that was the shocker, but I had Babylon 2 winning there.
But but that wasn't a shocker because like Babylon was not
they didn't like Babylon clearly.
Best Picture nominee either.
Yeah, it was I had it in 4th, All Quiet on the Western Front winning production design. So like I guess in terms of like where I was ranking, that was the one that like I was like, oh, I wasn't even tossing up between picking that one. So that for me was a really good shock. Sorry, Sebastian.
No, I was gonna say that production design, like when All Quiet won that, and it just started winning a bunch of what people thought Elvis would win. That's when I just speaking to what Joyce said about lack of suspense, I did start thinking, like, okay, what if this leads to like a screenplay win? What if, what if there's actually this crazy momentum for All Quiet that hasn't been shown at the Guilds because it hasn't been nominated at the Guilds? The only place where it's been nominated, it's won, which is like BAFTA, right? So that thought did start creeping up there. But then the moment Women Talking won screenplay, I was like, okay, it's over. I kind of know where the rest of this is going.
That exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just saying. I was texting with people watching it, and they were like, "Oh wow, it was All Quiet after production design," and it was like, no, if it loses screenplay, it's probably not. And then it lost screenplay, and then Everything Everyone editing and screenplay, and it was like, oh yeah, this is over.
This always happens with people live, just depending on the sequence of the awards. Like, there's always a point where like a movie wins a bunch of stuff, and then people start to freak out and wonder if that's gonna win Best Picture, and it's like, it's not gonna win Best Picture. Like, even if All Quiet had won screenplay, I would not have said it was gonna win Best Picture.
I think it was interesting, like, for that showdown though, was that like a lot of the categories All Quiet was winning weren't categories that Everything Everywhere was like favorite to win. And also all the Everything Everywhere categories were not categories that All Quiet had nominations or was competitive. So there wasn't really a way to test throughout the night which film was really performing better. We obviously knew that All Quiet was ahead, and I think because it had more nominations and other precursors and things like that. But it was a bit of an interesting as you saw All Quiet get those nominations. I think if All Quiet had had a directing nomination, maybe I would have started to go, oh, I wonder like if all the tech branches are sort of rallying behind the All Quiet on the Western Front. But we do have some breaking news. So this year for the Gold Derby Oscar prediction competition we have, there were 10,800 people who voted, which is the most we've ever had predicting the Oscars at Gold Derby. I think before that, our record was 9,500. So, like, we're blowing it out of the water. We've gone to 5 digits. So that's pretty cool. And we can now announce the winners of our prediction competition. And our user, only one of 10,800 people predicting, only one person got 22 out of 23 categories correct tonight. So to put that in perspective, like no one got everything right. Got 10 a sample size of 10,800. No one got everything right, and that user is Josh M. Parker. So that's a 95.65%.
Did he just get production design wrong?
Does it say where just some of the difficult choices? I don't have here what one he missed.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I mean, it has to be
yes,
one.
it does say that. Yeah. So production design. So I think that affirms that was of the editors of our editor team. Ray Richmond and I'm assuming that's Chris Beecham. Yes, Chris Beecham are our winners with 19 out of 23 correct. I'm just behind them on, I guess, 18. I don't know. I'm behind them on 78%. So whatever that means, I came second or third, I would say, because they tied for first. Do I go through the rest? Do people want to hear how they went?
Oh, I know about once I got 2 of the shorts wrong, I was like, it's over.
I got 3 of the shorts wrong.
I had Terry Condon, and then this afternoon I switched to Kate Blanchett because I was like, I'd rather be wrong predicting Kate Blanchett than be wrong predicting Michelle Yeoh, even though I was like, Michelle's probably going to win.
Yeah. And do we have our expert, who our Gold Derby expert champ is? Does anyone have that in front of them? Like who won the experts that have people from other publications who work for other sites?
It's not us.
It's not us.
Certainly not us. No, I was like 60%, I think. So
there you go. So we'll fight. We might break that later in the show. Yeah, we might find that later in the show. Oh, it's still sorry, just got a message from Chris. Still working on experts. Okay. I thought I was just missing something. Okay, very good. So we've done very exciting. Congratulations. What was the name of that user again? Just to give him another shout out. Josh M. Parker. You are the winner of the Oscars this year, really, for predicting all those.
We should send him an everything bagel.
Yeah, everything bagel to Josh Park. Very good. Very, very good. So what else do people want to talk about? Is there anything else that was top of people's minds?
You guys mentioned not doing so well in the shorts. What tripped you up?
Mine were all of them. So I went against the odds on all of them. I thought Boy the Mole and the Horse and the Fox would not win because it was so long, and I just thought that would be a demerit against it, but it wasn't. And obviously, the amount of campaigning that they did paid off because I know they did a lot. And documentary short, I think I went with Stranger at the Gate because, as you know, Malala was at the Oscars, and I really felt like people are going to think they're voting for Malala, and they didn't. They went with Elephant Whisperers, which is on Netflix and obviously widely seen. And then for a live action short, I had Irish Goodbye, and then I switched to Red Suitcase at like the last minute, and that was a fail. So I could have gone 1 for 3, but I went 0 for 3.
Yeah, I only had Irish Goodbye, and I had Ice Merchants.
I had My Year of Dicks.
Yeah, me too.
Animated.
Yeah, I felt like The Boy was just too long, but you know.
I also thought it was too bad. I didn't like that one.
Very trite. The animation is gorgeous, but like the whole package.
100%.
Yeah, but
no, the animation might have been the best, but
they probably didn't even finish it. So they just I got a ton of emails
the
about
third
the
scene.
So
Joyce usually makes fun of me because I always usually end up predicting people I interview because I'm a total. I'm very easily swayable. And then I was watching the show, and multiple people I was fortunate enough to interview won, and I had not predicted them. So the Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, Ruth Carter, just down the line. The Whale, Adrienne Moreau, I interviewed didn't predict them. So next time I should just go with my instincts and pick the people I.
But you went back to Florencia Martin for Babylon.
I did. I went to her, and she didn't win. So.
We did a short, but it was pretty like there was a cinema in Sydney actually last weekend that was had a session of just the 5 animated shorts back to back, and then the next day they had the live action shorts back to back. So I went to both of them, and that was really cool. And like with live action short, I just at the end thought the Irish Goodbye is just the best one. Like I was like, that was the one that was a bit like, it was funny, it was sad, it was like just like it felt like, oh yeah, that was a really good movie, and I like enjoyed watching it because some of them can be a bit depressing. So I like that's why I went with that, and so there was something about that film that was really good, and and that's the real way Ireland was represented at the Oscars tonight with Banshees and The Quiet Girl, which was the Irish international film missing out on their awards. One with the Irish Goodbye. The Fox, the Mole, the Bear, the Horse, the Rabbit, whatever, that one. I really like that. I know it was long, but I thought that was also had a real heart to it. And it really felt like both of those winners felt a bit poignant. And then I switched so I can see why those won, and the documentary short I found really hard to pick. I got that one wrong, but like I think that there are a lot of arguments I think for and against most of those nominees. Any other thoughts on big categories, guys, or anything that we're interested in?
I was sad that Babylon got shut out because I did think it was the best score of the year personally. As much as I think the movie's really flawed, but the two things that I had it predicted winning were two things that were pretty outstanding about it. So I was kind of disappointed about that.
Yeah, but those three notes and All Quiet.
yeah.
Can't say no.
It's true.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and funny, a film called All Quiet wins a music award. So no, yeah, but it is interesting. I think that is the more we talk about the thing. I think is like tonight was a night where a lot of films missed out. Like because we think about some of those best picture contenders, but also then you got films like Babylon that was a strong contender in like two categories and went home empty-handed as well. Did people have a favorite presenter or set of presenters?
I enjoyed Hugh Grant saying scrotum.
Oh yeah, I'd put Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell. I thought that was a nice. It was a nice callback to Four Weddings.
Yeah, I guess I would say them. I was trying to think who else. I'm already like blanking on who presented, but no. I guess Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. Like I said before, I was into them. They were
just
good.
saw Creed.
I love Creed. I just love him. I love Adonis Creed. Love the whole thing. Let's go. So that was fun. But yeah.
Yeah. Who else was there? I don't know. Should we talk about like the ads for Disney and Warner Brothers?
Yeah, sure. Out there. Yeah.
How did you guys? I watched it on HBO Max here. I don't know if it was on HBO Max in America.
No,
it's on ABC.
ABC.
Oh, it's on ABC there. No, I was so excited because I always have to like scrounge for like some way to watch the Oscars ever since I stopped having cable television, and then I moved here to Mexico recently, and apparently they have it here on HBO. So I was
nice.
I was so excited.
So somebody in the comments also mentioning Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. They were very charming. I thought that was good. I was into that. I love hearing when Florence Pugh speaks in her native accent. I love it. It's just great.
I love her duvet dress.
Yeah, she was good. That was a lot of fun.
I don't know who else was there. I need to like look up the presenters.
Well, I also liked how they stacked like the supporting together and the lead together. I thought that was pretty good.
They only had to do that because of Will Smith.
Yeah, but it was good. Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that like the cliche or whatever? I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. I just thought that worked really well. Kept it moving and made a nice presentation. They definitely tempted fate in a million ways with having Halle Berry and then also Harrison Ford doing Everything Everywhere. But it worked out this time. I guess they're never going to not
loves
do that,
to announce upsets. So.
Right.
Yeah. Is it like we talked a bit about the acting categories in general at the beginning, but there were two, like the two lead races were jump balls and the supporting actress race was a mess. Not in the best possible way. We had all these great, very different performances, all getting momentum and steam from different places. Is there an acting race that, before we wrap up with this part of the panel, you guys would like to deep dive in a bit more and sort of try to unpack why that person won?
I think it's clear why they all won. I don't know. I mean, like supporting actress was the most exciting one.
Okay. How did that? So why did Jamie Lee Curtis prevail there?
Because that's their favorite movie. So
yeah. There you go.
That's it.
But she was one of 2 people from that movie in that category. So there must have been something about her.
About her in that movie? I think it's because she just said, I wanted an Oscar nomination. And they're like, here you go. And we'll vote for you to win. So that's what happened. She won the SAG award. You know, I think like if you talk to most fans of that movie, they'll say their favorite supporting actress performer is Stephanie Hsu. But you know, this is the industry. Everyone's worked with Jamie. You know, Amy Klobuchar tweeted congratulations to her because they met on the trail like 7 years ago. So if Amy could have voted for her, she would have. Yeah, so like they love the movie. So it was a career win for her. And the strength of her movie carried her over Angela Bassett, who had the same narrative, but Black Panther was not as strong, even though it managed a win tonight. But yeah, like I thought like that was the only way for Banshees to get a win because I didn't think it was winning original screenplay. Yeah. So once that happened, I was like, it's over. It's over now.
Does anyone else have a supporting actress sort of theory or anything on to add to that race and how Jamie Lee Curtis was able to do it after such a long career in working in the industry?
I mean, I think everything Joyce said is spot on. It is just the fact that she's just probably the most popular of the 5. If it were a popularity contest, she'd win that. But I was sneakily kind of expecting like a big shocker in that, since there were 3 actresses that could have gotten it. I thought Stephanie Hsu could just like shoot up out of nowhere, just because I think that she most, as you said, most people thought that she was the strongest part among the supporting performances of that movie, and she is the heart and soul of the movie. So I was sort of sneakily hoping that dicting that she would win, but ultimately, like when Jamie Lee Curtis happened, something in me was like, oh, of course, you know, like why did I ever like doubt this?
And Stephanie's mantle will not be empty because she won a Gold Derby award. So she has the Gold Derby award. So she has something too. So when the cast all meets up, she can bring a Gold Derby trophy with to hang out with the Oscars of her co-stars. I do think of all of them, all the SAG winners, because we talked about that SAG correlation, that the supporting actress one may have been the most influential on Oscar votes because there was a potential of a vote split between Jamie and Stephanie. And I think the fact that she won that meant that people who did just love that movie and wanted to see that movie win or support that movie more would have maybe been more likely to tick Jamie because she just won an award, and it maybe got a bit less split. So I wonder if that helped a lot. Yeah. Well, any last thoughts from any of you before we get our next panelists in to join?
I was going to say one more thing, which is that
Please.
I was a little surprised. I think I got both lead acting performances wrong. I was actually thinking Cate Blanchett would win because, well, I actually, for contradictory reasons, I thought that Austin Butler was kind of the more pop, you know, like, oh, he's playing Elvis, you know, it would be a bit more of like old school Academy Award kind of win. And I guess in that way, same with Cate Blanchett, like she is like an established performer. And I thought that her winning would be reminiscent of Anthony Hopkins beating out Chadwick Boseman. Like, okay, forget Passion. Like it's the best performance and it's the one that most people agree. It's like top tier. So I got those 2 wrong. But yeah, so I don't know what you guys think of that.
I mean, I was like, obviously, I was surprised that Brendan ended up winning. I understand the narrative was really strong and people were really affected by that performance, but there are so many reasons that he should have not won that I think he actually is so beloved that helped him go over the top because, like, he's the first. I mean, it's not a biopics usually dominate. I think we said like 7 of the last 10 best actor winners are for playing a real person. Not having a Best Picture nomination is a huge deal in that category. It's the first time since Jeff Bridges in 2009, right? Or 2010, whatever ceremony that was. So he had to overcome so many different levels of historical hurdles. But then I was talking to somebody the other day who is happened to be a voter, and he was just like, I love Brendan Fraser. And I was like, I guess that's really it. I kind of was thinking, even going to the show, I was like, I should have just changed this off because it's probably going to be wrong. People just really love him and ended up being right. I didn't think the race could support two comeback narratives, but they obviously did, because I was like, Ke Kwan's got the comeback narrative on lock. How is Brendan Fraser going to do that also? But he very easily did. So, congratulations to him.
Yeah, it's a year of the comeback. Well, thank you all so much for breaking down these categories for us. Thanks, Sebastian, Chris, and Joyce. And we're now going to be joined by Charles Bright, Marcus Dixon, and Tony Ruiz. Tony, Charlie looks occupied at the moment. Give us, at this hour, Tony, what's the thought that's at the forefront of your head?
Hold on, Matt. You have a bagel? I raise you 6.
Oh my gosh. Charlie has everything bagels, a lot of them. Very nice.
Hi, guys.
See you, Joyce. Thanks so much. See you, Sebastian. Okay, Tony, break it down for us. What went on tonight? What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is that I'm awesome, because I pretty much tied with Ray and Chris Beecham in terms of predictions. I got 19 out of 23, and I'm thrilled with that. I think it was one of the best Oscar shows in recent history. I think Jimmy Kimmel has cemented his place as one of the great Oscar hosts, and I hope that he follows in the footsteps of Billy Crystal and Bob Hope and Johnny Carson. I think he's perfect for this job. It was in many ways a very throwback Oscar ceremony in terms of the tone, the humor, and just the sheer joy. It was a very joyful ceremony. And even though Everything Everywhere was not one of my favorite films, I'm thrilled with how it did. And I think a lot of statistics, I think what we learned this year, for this year alone, SAG meant a lot, because we saw all 4. Was it all 4? I think it was all 4.
Yeah, it was.
SAG winners carry over to the Oscars. And so that's a stat going forward until it isn't anymore.
There you go. Charles, what's the thoughts?
Okay. Never predict anything from BAFTA again. It's all about SAG. BAFTA's irrelevant. That's
okay. There we go.
No, I mean, I never thought that Everything Everywhere was going to do this well, because we've had so few sweepers, even from films that seem like that do pretty well. I mean, this is the first time we've had a film win this many Oscars since, the Hurt Locker, which won 6, and before that was Slumdog Millionaire, which won 8. So it's been so long since we've had something that wins this many Oscars and wins Best Picture. So that was a bit jarring. I mean, 3 acting awards. That's crazy. That's crazy, right?
3 acting awards and Best Picture. That's never happened before.
Yeah.
The last time there was 3 acting awards, the last time Network and Streetcar couldn't do it. This is the first time that 3 acting awards corresponds with Best Picture. So,
and, not to be now Banshees having 4 acting nominations and losing every single one of them now puts it on the same level as American Hustle, Sunset Boulevard, and My Man Godfrey, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, but what's funny to me? You know what's funny to me is that there was a lot of people who said that that certain things couldn't happen because of previous stats and whatever. And I think one of the things that we've learned is that can't is not a thing that we should incorporate into our vocabulary. We've now learned that certain things can happen. We've even learned that there is the rare occasion where the best actor does not line up with best picture, and best actor does not necessarily need to be a real life person. Brendan Fraser broke that rule this year. It was one of the few that I got wrong this year.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, though, it was a fun. I will say, I liked the winners. I thought it was a fun ceremony. I thought it was one of the better ceremonies I've seen in the past maybe 10 years. And I thought Kimmel was. I know this is probably going to piss off some people in the comments, but I thought Kimmel was a very solid host. I thought his monologue was great, and even the one bit, the audience bit, at least it didn't last too long. The other problems with his other bits that he did that really didn't work is they lasted so long.
There was no food delivery.
This one, he just said to everyone, "Food was under your seats." That's all he said.
Yeah, I don't hate it when things don't work, like with a host. Like, there's also it makes it seem less scripted and less like there's.
You never know what's going to work and what doesn't.
We're watching live TV. We're watching things happen. We're watching celebrities and big names respond in real time to stuff that's going on. Some stuff that's really clever and funny. Some stuff. So I wasn't too fussed with the stuff in the crowd either. I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's I don't think there was anything too revolutionary or anything, but he's just such a good host.
It didn't have to be revolutionary. That's the thing. It didn't have to be.
He was funny. He kept it moving. He had the right balance of irreverence and sort of appreciation for the industry and the films. I just think it to really highlight what the value of a host is. When the past 5 years, various award shows have sort of maybe devalued that role of the host, and the Will Smith stuff, which was not handled very well last year at all, and not too much on the hosts last year, because I think they handled it sort of as best they could, and it was tricky when you've got three to know who's saying what and how, So, but I think the way because it sort of was a bit of since it was less so unaddressed and unresolved last year at the Oscars, you sort of have to put a bow on it this year. And I thought how Jimmy handled that in his monologue was really clever and really funny, and
It didn't go on overkill, and the way that he delivered those jokes worked really well for me. And even I was going, okay, I'm actually laughing at these. Because I was dreading jokes about this going into the ceremony. I really thought they were going to go way overboard with them, but I thought he did a really good job in terms of the references to it, how he incorporated into the comedy. And I liked the end gag with the little sign backstage that said number of Oscar telecasts without incident.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I think also what he did was really clever in the monologue was not just make it all about Will Smith and Chris Rock, but talk about how the Academy responded last year with the waiting. This is what we do. Oh, let's give him a hug.
And waiting to bring it up, not starting the monologue with that, but waiting to do that and really talking about the nominees in the audience. And thank God he didn't do anything about how no one's seen these movies, because that would have been flat out not true.
Yes.
But
I actually loved the way that they had Riz Ahmed and Questlove kind of address it without addressing it. I thought that was so brilliant in terms of getting the idea across of it was nice that it was nice to pay tribute to these films that were kind of in a certain way overshadowed by the events of last year. So I think
that was good. And I think I like that Jimmy called out that sort of, what do we do to people who show arts? We give them an award and hugs and let them speak for 19 minutes. I think that was something that probably in the Academy's disciplinary action of Will Smith wasn't addressed as much. So I like that that was sort of called out. So I think that was I think he did great. Good job, Jimmy. And hopefully we'll see him do it again. And with him having a talk show on ABC and the Oscars being on ABC was a very natural makes a lot of sense for him to be hosting that again. Yeah, so I think he'll be back soon. Unless they want a bit more diversity in their hosting choices as well, and not just go with the same person every single year.
So what was the biggest surprise for you guys?
Rob's here. Trouble's here. Hopefully the internet.
Hi, Rob.
Hello.
When did they let you out of prison?
I'm just here being my charming self to talk about...
With working internet?
Yes. What a day it has been for me, I tell you that much. As you were, just...
Do you know who won?
Rob, yeah, I was able to watch the show because I was
He's waiting for it on his telegraph.
Yeah, no, I was thankfully we do still have TV aerials, so I was able to watch the show. But apologies to everybody who was tuning into the pre-show that I wasn't able to finish that one off. But that's okay.
Nice.
Anyway,
I don't know where Marcus has gone. Wasn't he meant to be joining us?
I'm just subbing in for him right now.
I texted him and called him certain names. So
okay, because what I was wanting to talk to Marcus about was because he had predicted All Quiet on the Western Front to win Best Picture, and that would have been fun to tell him that he was wrong about that.
And weren't there points during the ceremony where people were thinking that might happen?
I actually think when Marcus
win was worrying. At the time, the production design win was worrying.
And I think credit to Marcus though is that that film did very well. It won the second most Oscars. It won 4. It won ones we weren't expecting it to win. There's a good chance that was the film that was in second place for Best Picture this year. So, even though Marcus may have been wrong about the Best Picture call, I think he was onto something that film had a lot of support in the industry and amongst the Academy voters.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it kind of was and then when Sarah Polley won for Women Talking, which is a great win. I wish I had gone with it, but I stuck with All Quiet. But I mean, it was once that won, it was kind of okay, this is all coming back into the fold of where we think things are going.
Yeah, and look, can I just say while you're on it, Charlie, Women Talking for me was my favorite film with the 10 Best Picture nominees. So just so lovely to see that take home the writing award for Sarah Polley to win.
I loved that win. I loved it. It's such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
I did as well, and that was one of those wins that I was kind of being stubborn about that. Particularly, is somebody dying?
Sorry, I wanted to show you something.
It was one of those wins that I was particularly happy about sticking with because I really never bought the narrative that All Quiet was going to win screenplay, and I don't know where that came from because war movies in this category don't win screenplay.
MASH.
That was 40 years. That was over 50 years ago.
I think also,
don't win. It's a war movie. Yeah. It won.
I think
50 years ago.
MASH is a writer's film because it's a comedy and it mixes
MASH is not
drama and stuff. Whereas I think often war films like your Saving Private Ryan's or your All Quiet on the Western Front are seen as more, rightly or wrongly, directorial accomplishments, not writing.
Yeah, and the films that people keep referencing as war movies that have won Oscars are not war movies. They're movies that take place during the war, but they are not battle heavy war films. I had some people that were referencing, I can't remember what the film was that somebody referenced on Twitter, and I was like, what battle scenes are in that film? Not a single one. I always thought that Women Talking was the front runner. I didn't buy any of the garbage that was saying that this was not going to be their win. But it just seems to me that there are what I loved about this Oscar year is that it was so up in the air. I love that. I mean, how many times have all of us as prognosticators gone, oh God, this is going to win, this is going to win, this is going to win. How nice is it that even if we're wrong, I wasn't on many.
Shut up.
Oh, I'm going to ride this until I can not ride it anymore. And insert jokes here.
Wow, no comment.
But But how great is that we had this level of winners that were unpredictable up until the time that until the envelope was opened. I think that's fantastic.
No, it's what makes it fun. And sometimes when you have, especially with the way that the circuit goes these days, with all the precursors that we have, it's really tough it can be really tough to have the excitement factor in there. And for so many of these categories, even when by the time they got to actress and everything said, especially with the Jamie Lee win, everything looked like it was going for Michelle Yeoh, and it eventually did. I was still very nervous. I was predicting.
I was nervous. I was so nervous.
Yeah, I was still thinking that this is still a very tight race. This could go either way, and I'm very happy of where it went because I love Michelle Yeoh. At this point, I got it wrong, but I'm still happy that she has that. And you're right. It was fun to actually be in suspense for a lot of these categories.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss it. And I just sometimes we all carry on about our predictions and I did this and I did that. And that's great because that's what we're here for. But also it sometimes takes away from the fun of what we're doing and what we're talking about in our love for movies and TV and stage. And we talk about these awards because we care about the competition. We also care about honoring and the work, and also how it's a historic kind of like a milestone for where we're at right now. In 20 years' time, we could look back on what was going on in 2022 when Everything Everywhere All at Once won, just like when Parasite won pre-pandemic. I really want to show you something because it's one of our freelance writers, Stacey. She wrote a great article about women talking and why she thought it was still the front runner for adapted screenplay. And she sent me this great video, and I'm just going to play it if I can.
Yeah.
I love she's wearing the Sarah Polly shirt.
That was the same note that I hit when that was announced.
Yeah, and we all had that moment throughout the ceremony. Mine was probably James. I remember I woke up the dog because I was like, and the winner is Jamie Lee Curtis. And I was like, yeah! I was so
Rob, you and I almost texted you. I almost texted you, Rob, because not only was I so happy about Jamie Lee Curtis and not switching, which I didn't, and but my mother from the other room let out this gasp of joy for Jamie Lee Curtis. It was just perfect.
And can I just mention, because Jared Kozel in our chat room he's totally right. I am feeling very disappointed that a number of films nominated for Best Picture unfortunately walked away empty-handed, particularly Banshees. I just couldn't quite believe before Oscar night that would actually happen, even though I was predicting it. But I was hoping I was going to be wrong. And unfortunately, Colin Farrell didn't quite get there. Neither did Kerry Condon, and neither did Martin McDonagh. So it's a shame. And the same goes for Elvis. I know you've probably already spoken about this, guys, but I was very surprised that film walked away with nothing. Chris Rosen, a very great predictor, was predicting that it was going to do so well. And many others, of course, were predicting the same thing. And that walks away as well with nothing to show for it. That sucks. That's
I think that was the biggest shock for me of the evening was the fact that Elvis went home empty-handed. Because I thought if anything, it would be makeup and costumes would be its safest bets. And by the time it lost both of those, I just thought to myself, "Oh God, is this really happening?"
Yeah. See, that's kind of the funny thing is that one of the arguments that turned me away from Kerry Condon was people saying, "Oh, well, Banshees isn't going to go home empty-handed." Movies go home empty-handed all the time. I just go The Irishman. Hello.
That never crossed my. Even though I was predicting Kerry Condon, that was never a factor for me.
True. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm saying.
I know, but I'm just clarifying that's just and it is something that bothers me as well when people say, "Oh, this isn't going to go home empty-handed." It's the same thing I have when people are like, oh, they're going to do this to spread the wealth. I'm like, no, that's not how voters think.
That's not how this works. So I was not shocked. I mean, don't get me wrong. Banshees was my number 3 film of the year. I love that film, and I think it will be remembered as a great film. And Tar the same way. This was just the year that Everything Everywhere was the favorite. I just think there is no. I just think there was no way around it.
Yeah, that's right, and good on them. I was also thinking the speeches. This is unfortunately the way it happens when we see so many precursor ceremonies when similar winners. The speeches for Michelle Yeoh and Brendan Fraser didn't really blow me away, and I'm so happy for them. I can't begin to tell you, but I was slightly let down because of what Jamie Lee and Kei Hui Kwan did. Was so amazing in their speeches. I just felt like they kind of came up short a little. And then the Daniels kept having their speeches. We saw 3 of them. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with hearing from the Daniels. But other than that,
I actually was kind of impressed by the Daniels because, a lot of times we see when someone gets up to the podium a lot, it can eventually be like a bit exhausting because they'll try to think, because a lot of times if they've been up there twice or something already, they'll try to think of something that'll just stay up there and not really say anything. But I actually thought they were Kwan and Shiner were really great all times that they spoke. I thought it was really heartfelt. It didn't feel too rambly.
You're wrong, Charlie. You're just wrong. Okay.
No, you're wrong. You're upside down and your toilets go the wrong way. So yes, they do. It's scientific proof. But I mean,
different way. They go.
You made me lose my train of thought. But I mean, like that worked for me, and that worked for me. And I liked Brendan's speech because I remember his Critics' Choice speech felt very rambly, and his SAG speech was good. This one I felt was more concise. For Yeoh, I don't think anything can really top her Golden Globe speech. For me, that was the real highlight. But still, it was great seeing her up there, and she just oozes awesomeness.
Just to quickly shine a light on some of the categories we haven't had a chance to talk much about today. 2 of the biggest films of the year, films that got people going back to the cinemas again. Top Gun Maverick and Avatar: The Way of the Water did not go home empty-handed. Top Gun won sound and Avatar won visual effects. They were our front runners at Gold Derby, so no surprises there. But any comments from anyone on either of those? I thought it's good that they have left with something, and it's not just because they were so well seen and had a big impact on the year in cinema.
Sound was one of those ones where, because of where it was in the ceremony, and after that production design win by All Quiet, I was very nervous about. I was thinking, oh boy, are we going to see an upset here? And then it ended up not happening, going to Top Gun. And I'm least glad that, where they could have just gone easy with All Quiet, they actually did go with something else, and these big films. So I'm glad that they at least got something.
Yeah, and Guillermo del Toro won another Oscar for Pinocchio, which is pretty cool because that's a great stop motion film and a great to see another stop motion animation film win this. Is this the second stop motion film to win after Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit?
Yeah, I believe so.
But unfortunately, the Australian stop motion film couldn't win the animation short for the ostrich. Told me the world was fake, and I think I believe him. I'm just looking to see if there's any categories we haven't touched on yet. Let's talk quickly about because put your hand up if you predicted Brendan Fraser to win today. Okay. What happened, guy? I thought it'd be more split. But so how was he able to do it? Because I think a lot of people, Austin Butler the front runner at Gold Derby odds, or Brendan Fraser?
He was, and I think one of the things that happened was I think a lot of us maybe underestimated the narrative of Brendan Fraser, especially when and although now we really need to be careful when we see a lead acting category correspond with makeup, because I was actually more shocked that The Whale won makeup and hairstyling, because I really thought Elvis was going to win that one. The fact that The Whale is a 2-time Oscar winner, I know that's going to make a lot of people upset. But, come on. There is something about that film that definitely touched a nerve. So I don't know that we can, I'm not going to complain about it. I think it was great.
There are I think there's a lot of fair critiques about the depiction of obesity within the film and some of the things like that. So I think that I've got, a lot of time in the world for concerns and things that people have about that film. But it was like the performance I found captivating and and it's such a film that's focused in like these characters and how they relate to each other, how they interact to each other. And I was very gripped and engaged for that whole film. So I definitely think it was a powerful performance. And there was, as you say, Tony, also a huge narrative behind Fraser as well. And I think that came together beautifully. It's not just like there was a great narrative, but he didn't do much in the film. Like it was a great performance, whatever you think about some of the ways they depicted certain things. I think it's a deserving win. And I'm not shocked. But again,
what's funny? What's funny is that yes, The Whale has garnered a lot of discussion with
That's
people.
A polite way to put it.
I'm trying to be polite, but even in the discussion of that film, even in the discourse, that has been very anti The Whale in many ways. Nobody has faulted Fraser for that. So I think that the narrative of him was what carried him over the finish line for this one.
And I think one of the things that we forget is that I know that The Whale was not particularly well received by some critics. I mean, critics that did not like it were very vocal about it, and definitely on film Twitter, there are a lot of people that had a lot of critiques about The Whale. And I'm not saying they were unjust or anything like that. That was their opinion. But I think the more broader, especially within the Academy demographics, that was a film that was definitely connecting with them. And I think a lot of us thought after it missed picture, but actually not as much picture, but when it missed adapted screenplay, that was the one that I think a lot of people thought that this film was dead in the water, that it was just not going to happen. And I'm really glad that they did. I'm especially glad with the clip they chose, because that is the moment when I was watching that movie that I just lost it at my screening. That was when the tears just started coming and I was ugly crying like crazy when he goes, who would want me to care about? Who would want me to care about them?
And I think also, and someone in the comment, I think it was Tim, maybe, Tim Griffin said Paul Mescal was great in After Sun, which I completely agree. I saw that last week, and that before that may have been the one I would have voted for. That was, and I didn't have as much expectations about that. I haven't seen Normal People or anything.
I honestly think that this was one of. I didn't think it was this was one of the great Best Actor categories of recent memory. And I just think Austin every Butler performance in that category is fantastic.
Agreed.
Austin Butler would have won a different year for sure. And that's why I wasn't shocked Brendan Fraser won, but I was sort of shocked Austin Butler lost at the same time. And if Austin Butler had won, I would have been not shocked that he won, but not shocked that Brendan Fraser.
And the weird thing is that it struck me as so weird that Austin Butler won BAFTA of all things. That was the one that was one of the ones where he really came through, because I didn't expect that for so many reasons. And so
And Rob out. Oh, sorry. Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to shift to Cate Blanchett, so maybe just say what you were going to say about Brendan Fraser.
Oh, okay. All I was going to say is BAFTA didn't really help us tonight. The SAGs did. It doesn't happen, or sometimes it's the other way around. So that's why it's hard to treat this as a science, because there's so many factors that come into it. And I think with the discussion about The Whale, what disappoints me, and it's just my own personal opinion, that movie didn't work for me at all. But I recognize Brendan Fraser being wonderful in it. Same with Hong Chow and Sadie Sink. But I was just like, that's got 2 Oscars, and there's so many films in the running this year that have 0 now, and that kind of that disappoints me a little bit.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Which is where we have to have the reminder that Oscar wins do not necessarily equate to legacy of a film.
And
Remember,
look, even just
Citizen Kane lost Best Picture.
and look, like there is no question in my mind, Rob, that the Academy thought The Banshees of Inisherin was a better film than The Whale. Like, even though it's got no Oscar wins, look at what it got nominated in. Like, look, it was a Best Director nominee, Best Picture nominee. All the cast got nominated. Like, so number of Oscar wins does not necessarily mean. It just meant that one performance of Brendan Fraser's and the makeup just were for whatever reasons, and partly a big part on the strength of that performance and that makeup, the best there. Rob, our Kate was chasing her third Oscar win.
Yes.
Not that she probably cares, but she came up short. Why do you think that was? Give us your Aussie perspective.
I think it's very simple. I think it's because Michelle Yeoh just really hit that momentum late in the season, and Everything Everywhere All at Once undeniably is just beloved by so many people in the industry, in Hollywood and internationally, obviously, that it won 7 Oscars. And she was able to really parlay that love and affection for the film into a win. It would be so crazy for the film to do so well, and yet for its leading lady to not win and not have that opportunity to award somebody like her who's been so popular for so long. You know, it's a history-making performance, and win for an Asian actress. I know we've said in the past the Oscars don't care about stuff like that, but sometimes they obviously do. Cate Blanchett, she does have 2 Oscars. She'll be just fine, and she'll be back. I'm sure she'll be nominated again and again and again. She's one of the greats of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And I must say, there's some commentary in the comments which I take issue with, and just respectfully. The Andrea Riseborough nomination is not messy. It was a really amazing achievement for someone like her, a journeywoman actress who has been working for decades and is not a big star, and just had a lot of support amongst her peers and was able to make a dent in this category. And to see her there, she was not glammed up. She had a leather jacket on. She probably cares less about this whole spectacle, but I'm so glad that we were able to at least acknowledge and celebrate someone like Andrea Riseborough and Cate Blanchett and Ana de Armas and Michelle Williams, and then have Michelle Yeoh, Queen Michelle Yeoh, take home that Oscar. It's just a great narrative. The whole thing about Best Actress, I'm going to be looking back on it for years to come with such great memories.
Yeah. I think with
credit to someone who pointed this out in the comments section, that of the 8 above the line categories, A24 won 7 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only one it didn't take, and I don't think it had one nominated, was adapted screenplay.
Wow. I think also on like the Kate performance versus the Michelle performance, I think all the things you said, Rob, are 100% correct. I'd also add just like Kate's performance, as incredible as it is a bit of a colder performance. Like it's not super empathetic, whereas Michelle Yeoh, she's got that rooting factor. Like she's the poor, like, person working in a laundromat who ends up becoming an action hero by the end of it. And there's something really exciting and really like you're sort of rooting for her a bit more maybe than Cate Blanchett's character, who's a bit more quiet and cold and less likable, for want of a better word. So I wonder if that also just helps, like, Michelle Yeoh maybe had the huggability factor. Yeah. Well, we're about to wrap up, guys. Are there any questions in the chat room that Riley wants to throw at us that people have been just busting for us to talk about?
There's an interesting one here. Have you spoken about how 15 straight actors have now won Oscars for playing gay characters, with Fraser's win tonight? No openly gay actor apparently has won for playing a gay character. That's interesting to me. I wonder why that hasn't become how everything these days is controversial.
It's the issue of gay characters being played by straight people has been an issue in the past, and it's probably still an issue. Hollywood's gotten better about it, and I think it's better to the point, at least for me personally, where it doesn't bother me as much because it's not viewed as much of a stunt as it used to be. Like, oh, you play gay, or you play gay and you're dying of AIDS, you're gonna be nominated for an Oscar, probably win, or something like that. It's something that there's still a lot of room to work on that, But I think, and I mean, the fact that Cate Blanchett was playing a gay character in Tar hardly ever came up that she's a straight actress playing that. And I don't think it should, because I think her performance speaks for itself.
Yeah, it just would be crazy to suggest that only gay people can play gay characters, and if you're pansexual, then you can only, it's just ridiculous.
It's just the opportunities. It's more the opportunities, and I think and I think the industry over the past, definitely the last 10 to 20 years, has gotten better with allowing queer people to play queer roles. And hopefully we can have more, queer people playing straight people, because, if they're good actors, they can do it.
Queer people have been playing straight people since the dawn of cinema. So
since the birth of the closet.
Let's not pretend that that's something new.
Yeah.
Good, really good points, guys. I just realized we also didn't talk about the best documentary winner, Navalny, which Tony, you interviewed the winner of that. Such a great film. Tony, what are your thoughts on that prevailing?
It was that was a film that I had zero expectations going into it. My favorite documentary prior to seeing Navalny was All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. That movie wrecked me. And then I watched Navalny, and it plays like one of the great political thrillers of the last 25 years. And I loved the fact Daniel Rohrer, who is a delightful human being, a delightful person, giving time to Navalny's wife, and that his two children were holding Oscars. I thought that was such an important moment, and it was one of my favorite moments of the ceremony.
Nice. Also, let's touch on quickly the 5 song performances and the In Memoriam segment, big parts of the show where you have some huge names also involved. Charlie, what did you think of that? What do you think of those? Which ones were the standouts?
Naatu was fucking awesome, man. That was great. And I loved what's his name? MM Keeravani singing the part of his acceptance speech, the Man of the Carpenters. I thought that was great. And I thought Gaga and Rihanna were fantastic as well. I was not as enamored by Applause, but I don't think a lot of people were enamored with that song or that movie, because I don't think a lot of people remembered that movie existed, except for the music branch. I appreciate that the This Is a Live performance was weird, and that was fine by me. It may not have worked, but it was fine by me.
Yeah. Rob?
Yeah, I thought they were great. I didn't love the Naatu one as much as I wanted to, because I was expecting something huge, and I thought it'd be more. I think it would have more. I don't know. There's something. It was good. Rihanna was excellent. I thought Lady Gaga was best in show. I just loved how pared back she was, blood pop, and just acoustic, no makeup, just black t-shirt, ripped jeans, sung from the heart. That was amazing.
She always turns it on at the Oscars, eh?
She really does.
She brings an A game to the Oscars.
Don't you feel that as well with her, that she's the real deal? Like, she has a voice, and she can write, and she's so creative and different, and yeah, a lot of respect for her. And I thought Rihanna was amazing. I was expecting her to blow me away, and she did. Naatu winning, though, was a great moment. Good night for India, because also with the Elephant Whisperers. Nice to see the Indian film community honoured in some way. I hope we see more of this. I know in the song category you get a lot of songs submitted by Indian films, and they never quite make it to the shortlist. I hope that changes, because India has so much to offer when it comes to cinema, and I think we're just scratching the surface. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the In Memoriam segment from any? Oh, sorry, Tony, do you have any thoughts on the performances? Sorry.
No, not particularly. I was kind of blah on. I thought Gaga was great. I was kind of blah on the Rihanna performance. Naatu was everything I wanted it to be and more. But in terms of the In Memoriam, Chris Beecham just sent us a message in our Slack channel about some people that were left out, and I was actually kind of shocked that people like Melinda Dillon and Leslie Jordan and Philip Baker Hall and Tom Sizemore
and Hesh
were left out.
Paul Sorvino is surprising.
Paul Sorvino, that's stunning to me. You don't leave out Paul Sorvino. The man was in Goodfellas, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I actually like how SAG did it, where they showed the Ray Liotta clip and then they showed Paul Sorvino, right? And that's in the same clip from Goodfellas for that. It's easy going.
It's just like I guess they can't fit everyone in. I wish they could. I thought that was one of the better in memoriam segments. It was beautifully sung by Lenny Kravitz playing the piano. Again, really pared back, respectful, classy. I love the way they did the shots of the different faces. I can't stand the clapping when we hear about people clapping for some people. They want to clap for more than others. That's crazy. Stop doing that. It's so morbid. But it was a really.
They kept it to a minimum this year, which was thankful.
Which was welcome, absolutely. But it was usually, I find them sometimes to be not very well done. But we always end up figuring out, oh, that person missed out and that person missed out. And they must feel really bad about having to do that. But I guess, where do you draw the line? I don't know. It's difficult.
It's tough with the Academy because, like, we saw with SAG, you're having people from all these different branches, and not just, like these talents. You also have, a lot of times you'll have executives and sometimes publicity people as well. It's a really tough balance to get the hang of.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Yes. So as we wrap up, I'll just quickly skim you through categories, make sure we haven't shortchanged anyone. We've got screenplay, cinematography went to All Quiet on the Western Front. Costume design went to Black Panther. So that's really cool. Wasn't able to win supporting actress, but I think Ruth E. Carter is just such a great costume designer, and it's lovely to see her win. And this is I think maybe the first time sort of like a film and then a sequel have won the Best Costume Award, at least in recent times. I didn't go back too far. So.
She's also the first Black woman to have 2 Oscars.
That's so cool. And the costumes in that were unreal. Because I was like, when I went to watch, because I watched a bit later, like after nominations came out, I was sort of going, oh yeah, I'll probably just be the same sort of stuff we saw in the first movie. But there were some really cool costumes there that she really built on that. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Editing.
I thought her speech was one of the best of the evening, paying tribute to her mom, who had apparently had just passed away. When did she say she said this past week that her mother passed away at 101. I mean, such a moving speech, and a great win for her. Also, Virginia, Hampton University graduate.
Oh, there you go. No, I love Ruth E. Carter. She's her speeches are always really good.
I like when she got up there and she went, "Nice to see you all again."
Yeah.
She's great. So editing went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Makeup and hair went to The Whale. We've talked about that. Production design went to All Quiet on the Western Front. We've talked about that. And score, All Quiet on the Western Front too. So that had a lot of support. We've talked about RRR winning for Natu Natu, Top Gun and Avatar. We've talked about Pinocchio. We've talked about all the categories. There you go. Fantastic. Broken it down. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Unless there's any questions in the chat room that we didn't address, or it's anything super important, we might call it there. Another Oscars in the bank. Peter Travers from ABC won the Best Expert in the Gold Derby Prediction Center. Again, 10,800 people predicting the Oscars this year at Gold Derby. It's a record. And we had it was Ray Richmond and Chris Beecham topping our editorial team on 19.
And me.
And yes, Tony, you were with them on 19. Very good. And we had, I'm trying to remember the name now. I'm so sorry I keep forgetting it.
Josh something.
Josh Parker.
Josh Parker winning by getting 22 out of 23. So really good job, Josh. And hey, if you're like, now the Oscars are over, what do I predict? There's a whole bunch of other award shows to predict. The Emmy Awards.
Tonys.
So Emmy Awards. Yeah, the Tonys. It's all happening. Tonys, Emmys, predict these awards. Who knows? It'll be only a matter of time before the new Oscar prediction centers up in 6 months or whenever Chris gets that worked up. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This is always fun to break down those Oscar winners. And thank you to Rob, Tony, Charles, and Joyce, and Sebastian, and Christopher for joining us, and Riley, who's produced and directed this whole post show. Thank you so much. Enjoy the post Oscar life, everyone.